Hello, I'm Andre and this is Osteo, my YouTube channel where I talk about knitting, spinning, whatever other crafts I get up to, sometimes some reading and other random shit. Hi, welcome. This is the second attempt because when I last recorded earlier this week, I didn't realize my necklace was rubbing against the microphone the entire time. So now they're not touching. That's ruled out. It's also been a while. I'll talk about that later. Anyways, it is a beautiful sunny day. It is February 19th. We are starting to see some snow melting, which is kind of gross in one respect, but also we have so much snow that it is a relief that some of it's going away. All right, well, I guess we'll get down to it. Actually, before I forget, I am wearing a hand knit. This is my Black Bat blouse by Ariana Frasca. I test knit this for her like a year and a half ago. It is knit using some flakes that were prototypes for the actual Black Bat color by the Frosted Stitch. It is DK weight. Obviously this really pretty cutout detail. We've got some balloon sleeves, this really nice picot trim on the sleeve. It's very comfortable. Could be borderline risque for some. I'm very aware of what bra I wear. When I put this on, I'm wearing a dress underneath it, but it's quite lovely. It's very comfortable. It's very pretty. And I love how so much of the pattern can be customized. You can do a full fold over turtleneck. I did a little short neck here. You can do long sleeves, you can do short sleeves. I made mine a lot longer. The original or the sample design is quite cropped. That's not my style, so I extended mine quite a bit to make it into something that's a little more wearable. I was working on this one with two very different color lots. They weren't repeatable dye colors, right? They were both prototypes, so they were definitely cousins, but not identical twins. And I just alternated yarns throughout, and I think it melded together really, really well. As I talked in my January video, I'm approaching this year with kind of themes that I apply for all areas of my life every month. My January theme was grounding, and my February theme is care. So it's kind of growing out of grounding. Grounding, at least to me, is more about quieting the crazy brain, which I'm very guilty of. And care is kind of continuing in that vein, but actually just taking a beat and really listening to yourself about what you need. Care can also mean doing or making things for others, which certainly gives me a lot of joy. And so that is something that I've embraced a lot in February. Care is also about kind of slowing down and assessing, need and want, as opposed to sort of outside expectations. I feel, especially, and that you see discussions of this here and there about, especially with a lot of the crafting podcasts, where you almost see an expectation to crank out finished objects every month and like full-on sweaters in a month. And I think if there are those outside expectations, it's going beyond the point of what crafting is, right? Crafting, at least it should be, I mean, not to dictate what people craft for, but at least for me, crafting is a moment of disconnect. It's a moment of taking care of myself. It's experiencing joy in what I'm making. And it's having something nice at the end of it, something I can enjoy, something that's functional. So it's a lot of letting go of outside expectations. Yeah. Maybe that's a little complex. Maybe it's a little too deep. I don't know. Anyways, those are the thoughts in my brain right now. Okay. So going back to January, I was working on my Love Note sweater and 2 samples for the frosted stitch, the Winona Polo and the Owl Nouveau cowl. Haven't finished any of them. But here's my progress on the Love Note. So the Love Note is a pattern by Tin Can Knits. I have finished the ribbing. It's curling up here a little bit. And made a dent on the first sleeve. This is knit out of Knit Picks a loft in Toronto and a sock weight yarn that I dyed with the supervision of Krista of the Frosted Stitch quite some time ago, so it is a one-of-a-kind color. I love how this fits. It is really beautiful. It fits beautifully. I look forward to having it in my wardrobe and certainly hope that I will revisit this project very, very soon. These samples, because they do have a deadline, I am still working on them this month. So Owl Nouveau is a pattern by Mary Hunt, the master of complex colorwork cowls. And we've got some progress on here. So this will be the owl here. We've got the feather design. This color pairing is great. I love the contrast on it. I take 0 credit. It was Krista who chose the colors. So the colors being used here are this deep navy blue called Underworld. There, that's closer. And Hoarfrost. So this sort of, I keep calling it like a watercolor. Those browns show up like a watercolor, which is what I love about it. It just shows up. It's these little kind of splotches of color, and there's a bit of speckle with yarn colors breaking. Really pretty. As with any of these designs, it does take a lot of attention to follow each little stitch correctly. Not to say that there aren't a few unintentional mistakes that likely nobody will notice, but that is the Owl Nouveau for now. I spent much of my energy on the other sample, which is the Winona Polo. The Winona Polo, this is the heavyweight edition, so it is written for worsted weight, but I am knitting it out of DK weight yarn. I swatched it and the gauge was fine. So I've done a lot of work on this lately. Ignore the ends for the time being. But here it is. I feel like the colors are blowing out. So there's a double knit collar here. Let's see if I can show this nicely. That folds over. And here is the button placket. I don't currently have buttons. And it does need to be seamed at the bottom. But that will sit like that. I still have a few inches to do on the bottom before it goes into a split hem, and of course there are sleeves required. These colors will be debuted at Knit City by the Frosted Stitch. As you may have guessed, they have to do with a particular Toronto sports ball team. Let's just say that. I don't know how much I'm allowed to divulge at this moment. I think the cat's out of the bag, but yeah. Anyways, so most of the colors are going into the sample. It is going to be a lovely piece, and I can totally picture Krista wearing this. It's very, very her. So it'll be a nice oversized piece for her, and it's really fun. Like, there are instructions to do certain stripe designs. I'm going kind of random on these. Krista set a few rules as what colors aren't allowed to be beside each other, but beyond that has given me free rein to do whatever the heck I wanted. So we have thick stripes, we have thin stripes, we have random changes of color. Is really fun. A lot of mindless stockinette, which is great when I'm reading, which I've been reading a lot. Both this and the Al Nouveau need to be done for Knit City, so I do have a deadline there that I do need to meet. But I think it's all going along quite well. In addition to those things, I've been making these continuously, but I started these little crochet, I think they're called grad skulls is the pattern. They're so cute. So I've got 4 of these made right now. I am intending to make one for each of my graduating students this year so that I can hand them out at the grad ceremony. I don't think I have any of my current students who are watching, so hopefully not. Hopefully this isn't a spoiler, but they're really cute. Yeah. I've been working on those at almost a pace of one a week. I haven't done one this week yet, but yeah. Probably about 10 students graduating, so it's not too bad. On top of that, I have my continuous book blanket. So this is a collection of hexes. The pattern itself is called the Lockdown Blanket, and each hexie represents a book that I've read, and it is inspired by the design on the cover. I've been doing this is year 2 of the hexie blanket. And oh, it's so fun. I love that it's such like a trip down memory lane, seeing each of the books. So I think last time I showed this, I had done the Facemaker one, and then I got into Canada Reads. So Canada Reads is this kind of battle of the books that happens on CBC. It's on the radio and on TV, or there's videos on YouTube, but they start with a long list, narrow it down to a short list of 5 books, and then there's champions for each book where they debate which one should represent the theme of the year. And I believe this year's theme is a book to bring us together. Always really interesting books. And I make it a point to read all of the finalists every year. So once the long list came out, I try to get as many of them as I can. Usually manage to read one book before the short list comes out. In this case, that was Everything is Fine Here. And that's this one with the green. Really enjoyed that one, but unfortunately didn't make it onto the short list. The next one on the short list that I read was A Minor Chorus by Billy Ray Belcourt. And that is this one here. That, at least right now, is my favorite of the finalists. It was a fairly quick read. Initially, the thought of a PhD student kind of struggling and questioning all life choices certainly resonated with me, although the main character's life is very, very different from my own. It was still a really interesting deep dive. Maybe deep dive is the wrong word. An interesting exploration in kind of competing identities and home, the concept of home and family, and just kind of the lives of people all around us. It was also beautifully written, like one of those books that just really makes you enjoy the way that language can be used. Yeah, but that one was my favorite. After that, I read Foe. So this is Foe. Foe was kind of, when I knew of it, was more of a thriller, sci-fi-ish book. It does take place in the future. Again, with all of these, I don't want to spoil too much. I found the thriller sci-fi part not quite as compelling, or I didn't enjoy that quite as much. I don't know if this was intentional in the author's aims, and the author's Ian Reid. I found that it was a really interesting, like, commentary on gender roles in heterosexual relationships or marriages. Yeah, anyways. I really liked that. I thought that was really well done. I don't know if that was intentional. The book certainly didn't give me what I was expecting, but I liked it. Next up, this one here with kind of fall vibes. This was for It's Different This Time by Joss Richard. That was kind of a romance novel. Two people who had lived together and kind of were a will they, won't they on the verge. And then ended up getting separated, and life circumstances forced them back together, it was cute. Maybe this is why I'm not a big fan of romance books. I just feel like everything's just too perfect, right? That like, in what version of reality do things work out like this? But also the main character just infuriated me. I mean, the partner also infuriated me at multiple points. It's just like shaking my head, like, why are you so stupid? But not my favorite. Yeah. And I don't have a hexie for it yet, but actually last night I finished the next of my Canada Reads finalists. This was Searching for Terry Punch-Out by Tyler Hellard. And in this, the main character is a sports writer who is estranged from his dad, who had an NHL career. And he gets to a point where he's lost his job and decides to go back to his hometown after 10 years, after he had pitched writing a story on his dad, basically. I really enjoyed this book. It's similar, at least in some themes, to A Minor Chorus, in the whole like returning to home, reconnecting with family, and revisiting kind of identity, and in that getting a better understanding of people that you may have misjudged in the past. So yeah, really, really enjoyed that one. It needs a hexie. I've got the colors for it. Oh no, I don't have the red, but it'll be yellow, red, and blue in like very primary colors. Yes. So, lots of fun. Still lots of ends. There's always going to be lots of ends until it's done, which at this rate will be in like 10 years, if not more. So because I finished Searching for Terry Punch-Out, I'm on the last of the Canada Reads finalists, which is The Cure for Drowning by Logan Paler, I think. Anyways, I have it. I have it from the library, so I'm probably going to start it tonight. This is probably, I am actually going to finish all of the books before the debates, which I don't think I've ever done. Usually I'm still reading the 5th book when the debates are on. Yeah. So this is ongoing. For the month of February, I am still working on those 2 samples. And I started a pair of knit socks for my partner. I had shown this yarn previously. I picked it up this summer. It is yarn from Timber Yarns. I think it's the first time I buy yarn from her that's not self-striping, but it's this kind of marled, this is so bright. So it's like this marled, it was a whole work sock kit, so it came with these 3 colors. Hard to tell, but that black stripe is actually a marled yarn with a gray and a black, and then we have the solid creamy white. It is DK weight, and I'm just knitting a big, thick, cozy sock for him. Knitting DK socks works up so fast, which is so fun. Yeah, this is the first one. I need to pick it up again to get more work done on it. But I've had a bit of a distraction because I signed up for Sock Madness again. Yeah. The Sock Madness is, I like to compare it to almost like a musical chairs, but for sock knitting, So each round there are fewer and fewer spots, so the quickest to finish the challenge sock maintain their spot to go on to the next round. Right now is the qualifier round, so you have 2 weeks to complete the qualifying pattern. The qualifying pattern is Newspaper Socks by Cows from Mars. And I just finished the leg last night. So it's this lovely kind of tartan-esque color work, which color work is always very, very challenging for me because I do tend to be a tight knitter. I have been knitting these inside out so that hopefully my floats are long enough. And I've just done 4 rows of the heel flap there. There will be a crocheted line going down. So there's a row of pearls right there. So a crocheted line will go down in that off-white color here. And I am knitting this with all frosted stitch yarn. This burgundy is a flake. The green is Bouquet Garni, and this is a yak sock blend. And the off-white is flax. I had a bit of a hard time picking out my colors for this. I don't have a ton of like solid or tonal sock yarn. I have a lot of variegates, but I'm pretty pleased with the color combination I came up with. It's not reading overly Christmassy. I love green, and I also really enjoy burgundy. Yeah. So that's a fun little distraction. So I'll be continuing to work on my 2 pairs of socks and my 2 samples. In terms of spinning, I have been working on some things. I haven't finished. I finished 1 skein of yarn since I last recorded, and that is part of my set of the Akira Rose braids. So I finished this one, and it is part of this. It is intended to be like a fade, but this the darker one, this the lighter one. I had 2 braids of 2 colors that were quite similar. So the ones on either end, both plies are with 1 color and the other color, and both of these have 1 ply of each. So this, the darker one here is just the color grunge. This one is just night lights. And then this has 1 ply of each. Altogether, I've got, I think, just under 700 yards. It's about worsted weight. The yarn is a little more toothy. I mean, a toothy yarn doesn't bother me all that much, but I think this might be good for sort of a rustic, chunky shawl, perhaps. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking right now. I, of course, have several other spins on the go right now. Not too much to show. Although I have finally started spinning from my breed study. So I subscribed to the Long Way Homestead breed study, which sends 4 ounces. You can choose to get either the yarn or the fiber. So I chose the fiber option. 4 ounces of a different sheep breed fiber every month. And these are all sheep in Canada. So it's a really nice opportunity to work with braids that you've perhaps never even heard of and get experience spinning them. I have received 3 so far. So I've finally started spinning the first one. I was waiting to free up my Ashford Kiwi, which had that Akara Rose spin on it. So now that it's free, I can start it. So the first one was Clun Forest. Aren't they cute? It's so neat seeing the differences between different types of sheep. I've never heard of Clun Forest before. It is apparently more a breed of sheep used for meat. But so far, like, I've spun a little bit of it. Actually, here is the roving. I originally intended, I had this thought that I wanted all of the spins from this fiber study to be used in one project, and I was hoping to aim for more kind of a worsted weight finished yarn. So far it's spinning very thin. It's just what it wants to do, or maybe what my hands want to do. I am practicing on my long draw with it, so maybe it'll fluff up a bit more. So maybe I'll just have to use this one as a baseline. Anyways, I should be getting the 4th month any day now. I do have my monthly yarn club from the Frosted Stitch. It is again the Expeditions theme. So the January color was Vikings, a very kind of earthy greens and golds and some blues. We've got the little stitch marker, which as an archaeologist, I have to note that these are not accurate. Vikings did not wear helmets with horns, but I will forgive that. Even the Viking statue in Gimli has them. Anyways. The February color is called Yeti, and it is this beautiful, icy, like light gray with blues and purples. I love this color. Absolutely love it. This month I'm doing this year in my subscription, I'm doing something a little different. I normally get sock yarn. I'm doing DK this year because I have an absurd amount of sock yarn. I mean, I have an absurd amount of yarn, period. And one more thing to show. A little over a week ago, a new yarn store opened in Sudbury, and it is the 3 Stitches. It is really close to my mom's place, which could be a little bit dangerous. I went in the day that they opened, which was February 10th. Had to say hi to Paulina and Karen and just check things out. It is a really cute little space, nice variety of yarn, and just, it's nice to have a place that I can pop into if I need needles or accessories, or, you know, if I can't find something in my stash, that will do the trick. I don't need yarn. I didn't buy yarn. I don't need fiber either, but I got a braid of fiber. Yeah. This is Koigu, so an indie dyer, Canadian indie dyer, and 100% merino, around 150 grams. in this really fun kind of rainbow of colors. And at least it looks like it's repeating. Ooh. I don't know quite yet how I want to spin this. There are so many possibilities if I want to combine it with other colors. I'm currently doing a ply on the fly spin on my Turkish spindle. This would be great on that, or just as a chain ply in general. Anyways, great possibilities. It's so fun. And it was great to check in with them. I actually stopped into the yarn store again yesterday. And they didn't have what I was looking for in terms of needles, but they've ordered them. And I should get them next week. So, very exciting. I wish them so much success. I'm sure I'll be there regularly enough, probably more often than I should. But yes. So that is all I have in terms of yarny things. Life stuff. When I last recorded, my union was on the verge of going on strike, and we did end up on strike for 3 weeks. That ended not quite 2 weeks ago. It was pretty awful being in the cold 3 hours a day, and here in Northern Ontario it was like minus 30s some days, so it was not pleasant. It was certainly nice to see how much community and student support we had. The agreement isn't what we had all hoped for, but at least we've made some headway and we're not done with this fight yet. But I am happy that classes will be resuming next week. I missed my students so much, which is partly why I started crocheting those little grad skulls. But yeah, it was not a pleasant experience. It was certainly weird to be taken out of my usual routines, and now that we're back at work, it is a bit of a struggle to get back into it. But yeah, right now is technically reading week, although I'm in my office right now. I have a grad student. I have a thesis student who's been working in my lab doing some data collection. I have a meeting in 5 minutes, and it's been a lot to kind of figure out how we're going to finish out the term and reorganizing the schedule, all of that. But it will be nice to get back to that normal routine and to not be freezing in the cold. Granted, it's not that cold anymore, but yeah. Yeah, so that's been the last while. Still kind of emerging out of that winter. It's still winter, but it feels like that time of the year where like the sun is coming back, which feels very hopeful. It gives you a little boost, I think. And I am looking forward to what the spring and the summer have in store and to share with you. So I hope that maybe you'll get some inspiration to invest some care in your life right now. Do something either for yourself or for others, and to kind of take a step back and reflect on why you're doing things, what your motivations are, and does it really serve what it should? All right. before I keep blabbing on. Nice to talk to you. Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.